let's talk about life. We're living in a really interesting time in the world right now where we have the advent of artificial intelligence and advanced robotics. Technology is everywhere. People have cell phones, access to basically limitless information, more opportunities, more options, seemingly more possibilities than ever before. And yet, the whole world is still, even more than ever, obsessed with consumerism and having the latest and greatest and constantly being entertained every single second with our TikToks and our YouTube shorts. To always have something new to look at, to never really have a moment of silence to contemplate kind of the nature of reality, which I think is fascinating. So many of us, and myself, very often, I get lost in the kind of mire of human existence where I'm worried about myself and worried about how am I going to cope with changes? How am I going to, make money in the future? What am I going to do? What are things going to look like for Andrew? Worry about me. And yet, for me to even have the ability to worry, there are so many things that we have to completely take for granted that are freaking amazing. For me to have the ability to worry about myself, I have to take for granted the fact that the sun will come up tomorrow, that ball of light in the sky 93 million miles away that's just like nuclear fusioning itself, that will somehow come up tomorrow, or not actually come up, because that's a perspective of the Earth, right? The Earth will rotate tomorrow to make the sun appear then to come up, so that I have heat and light to worry about my meager human existence. The entirety of our culture, the entirety of our society, everything on this world, all of the hustle and bustle, all of our fears, all of our anxieties, all of the things we cling to, and all of the limitations we have, all of our self-imposed stories and our narratives of our life and our meaning and our purpose and the things we want, the things we desperately think will make us feel better, all of our achievements, we get so wrapped up in the story and the day-to-day life that we take for granted the fact that we are alive in the first place because that nuclear fusion is going on 93 million miles away. There's a star that gives us heat and light that is close enough to actually burn your skin and cause damage to you. How crazy is that? And yet, in our day to day lives, in all of our worries, all of our anxieties, all of our thoughts about our goals and the things we want to achieve and progress and the wars we have as humanity, the violence and the conflict and the relentless push for progress, for technological development, for bigger and better and faster and newer and get to the newest phone and all of these drives to achieve, they all can only exist if we take for granted the baseline amazingness that we are made up of subatomic particles which exist in like a quantum particle wave state, that somehow electrons and protons have the same charge, which is awful convenient because if they didn't have the same positive and negative charge, all of the universe would probably implode or explode instantaneously, and it doesn't. But we have to take that for granted to be mad about being stuck in traffic. We have to take for granted the fact that gravity just exists and holds us. We won't go flying off into space tomorrow. Reality, when you actually look at the objective reality of our experience on Earth, it's freaking insane. It's mind-blowing that I am able to speak to you right now. Firstly, through this camera, it's going to be digitized and uploaded to YouTube and then transmitted through cables all over the world in a fraction of a second, and then decoded by your computer or phone or whatever, and transmitted to you in a series of electromagnetic waves, which we register as visible light, and shock waves through the air, which we register as audio and can understand. Languages exist. All of these things are prerequisites for our culture to exist as it does in the first place. And yet, the vast majority of people, and I'm not excluding myself either, I fall into this so often. The vast majority of the time, we are stuck in this very, very narrowed in perspective. I say all of that stuff's great. all that stuff's nice, but really, I need a girlfriend, or really, I need a better job, or really, what the world needs right now is for Andrew to have a little bit more security in his life. And the obsession of my psyche, the obsession of the average person's psyche, is this extremely personal view that of all of the things that are going on, of all the billions of things going on Earth alone, let alone the fact that Earth itself is minuscule and that there are more stars in the sky than there are grains of sand on the Earth, on all of the beaches. By a lot, there's more stars. And yet, what do I care about? I don't even care about what's going on in this planet, as neither do most people on this planet. Our culture only can exist because of all of these things. And yet, we humans have invented society, and society has invented money, and then we have humans who value money over the planet, who value money over the society. It's this strange structure where the baseline was required to create the thing which we now view as more real, more important than the base for the structure itself. It's so crazy. So I would encourage you, and this is something I try to do throughout my day-to-day life. Whenever I'm feeling anxious or afraid or depressed or sad, I realize that all of those things, they come about in those moments when I have taken this massive view of all of the things that are required for me to even be speaking to you in the first place and saying, you know what, I don't care about any of that. What I'm really interested right now is why Andrew doesn't feel as good as he should right now. That's what the most important thing for me to pay attention to in this entire picture is. For me to be sad, I have to be focused on my own experience, only my own point of view. There's 8 billion points of view of just humans on Earth, let alone all of space, let alone all of the things that are happening. For me to be stuck in those mindsets is for me to be stuck in the me, for me to have collapsed all of this infinite amazingness of reality. Even if you're taking like science, the most pragmatic, like the most realist view of science currently says that, we are kind of quantum particle waves that make up our body and that make up atoms, which make up molecules, which make up us. That's science. That's the understood explanation that is not magical and woo-woo and out there. And yet, if you think about it, it's freaking insane. But most of us throughout our day-to-day existence are collapsed from that huge world, everything that actually has to exist for me to be upset, for me to worry about not making rent, or for me to worry about not being fulfilled, or that what I want in life won't happen. For me to worry about these things, I have to take for granted that gravity will work tomorrow, that the electrons and the protons which make up my being will just continue to not repel each other instantly and disintegrate the entire universe. And yet, fundamentally, those are kind of amazing things that have to happen. Just ridiculously amazing things that have to happen for me to even have the ability to be upset. Life's weird. That's basically the takeaway. But I would encourage you in your day-to-day life, I try to do this as much as possible myself, to just try to understand what's actually going on. Take a second to realize that life is freaking amazing. Even in the moments where you are most miserable, it has to be freaking amazing for you to be miserable. Otherwise, you just wouldn't exist. The fact that we exist is insane. Try to find some slight joy in that, if nothing else, I guess. And try to remind yourself when you get stuck in those moments of anxiety or fear or worrying so much about the little me. What's going to happen to me? To broaden your perspective just a little bit and realize that that little me, that little narrative, that little story that we tell ourselves about us and we make so important is just another piece of this huge, massive network. And crucially, that tiny little me is based on our past, based on who we think we are. And often, the more we cling to that, the tighter we hold to that, the more we limit ourselves from being able to enjoy the ridiculous amazingness that is just being alive in the first place, being able to breathe oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, which plants breathe in and then spit out oxygen. That's pretty cool, right? So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. That's something that I try to keep in mind in those moments where I feel the most kind of insecure, or the most self-focused in a bad way. The way I feel the most like anxious or afraid, or what's going to happen to me focused, not in a filling my own cup, like being content with myself, but in those moments where I feel the most me insecure. I try my best to kind of pull my view back a little bit and realize that there's a lot more going on than just that narrative of me. There's a lot that has to even happen for that narrative to occur. And to treat that narrative as if it's the only thing that matters, to treat that I need to achieve because then I'll feel good, then it'll validate all of those childhood patterns I have that say, you're only lovable if you achieve. To think that that is the only thing that matters, that's where most people spend their whole life. They don't pull their perspective back and look up at the sky at night and think, those stars are freaking real. They are another sun for another planet. It probably doesn't have life on it. That's pretty cool too, right? But of all the planets we've found so far, this one's pretty good to be on. So count your blessings, I guess. And if you want to learn just a little bit more about ways to kind of understand some of these limiting beliefs we have that we get stuck in so often, that cause us to focus on that me, and to have that kind of survival mode mechanism going all the time. If you want to understand how to overcome some of those things, check out this video right here on inner child healing and a few journaling prompts you can use to start the process of healing from childhood trauma. And if you feel like you're constantly stuck in that trap of focusing on just the me and getting ahead and why I need to do better and I need to achieve and I gotta do this thing and then I'll be okay, then what you need to do next is check out this video right here on why self-improvement is bullshit. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.